revolutionary greetings, my fellow Ambazonians. Today is July the 7th, 2019. I am your humble servant, Milton Taka, your communications secretary and IG spokesperson. I bring you revolutionary greetings from the cabinet of your interim government. I bring you revolutionary greetings from our Vice President, Comrade Daphne Yerima. I bring you revolutionary greetings from His Excellency Sisiko Ayoktabe and all our leaders currently held captive by colonial Cameroon. Fellow Ambazonians, I come here today to address you on the following issues. Federalist met in Switzerland this week to sell our struggle and our nation. The Southern Cameroon's European Women's SCEW conference is coming up this week. The interim government warns against kidnappings and ransom taking. We all know of the visit of the U.S. Congressional Caucus leader Karen Bass and her members to the Cameroons. We equally know of the arrest of National Chairman of the SDF, Ni John Fru Ndi, under the orders of AGOVC. We have concluded our investigations and we have feedback for you as well. And the last aspect, which is of course expected, is Fund Ground Zero. Let's begin with the very first item of the night. Following unquestionable intelligence, we the people need to open our eyes very widely, have our ears on the ground, and be in total control of events concerning our destiny. We want to repeat to the world as loudly as possible. This is a fight for our freedom, for justice, for peace, and for our dignity as a people. The mistake of Fumban will never be allowed to repeat itself ever again. We cannot get into any talks on a blank check, never. We must all have the factual profile of all players, know who they represent, know what role they will play, know if mediators in particular have clearly defined the conflict to be what it is, if they have profiled the contesting parties as accurately as possible, and if they will be credible, independent, and unbiased referees. As stated previously, your interim government refused to take part in the talks because we sought to get this clarity so that with all movements that share our unshakable ideology of total independence or resistance forever, we then will work hard behind the scenes to put together a solid, well-equipped, well-resourced, and competent negotiation team that will stand for Ambazonia, pay loyalty to our flag, and ensure that the lives of our people stolen in this senseless war of La République du Cameroon's occupation are not wasted in vain. Some movements representing some segments of our people were in Switzerland. We have the responsibility to talk to all of them and ensure the mandate to protect our people, protect our revolution, is guarded jealously. And our quest for a free homeland is not thwarted out of wrong judgment by those we consider our comrades with whom we should be on one side until homeland is free. We are restorationists. We are unshakable independent activists or advocates, and have made that position very clear to all enablers, to all unionists, to all federalists, and to the world at large to know. It's independence or resistance forever. Still on this note, when the Ambazonians representing different movements converged in Switzerland and had that meeting we thought should have not happened, given some critical questions are yet to be answered till this day by the dialogue organizers. They left for their various bases in Europe and in the US. Barely 1 week after they left, Credible intelligence reaching us is that Federalist met still in Switzerland this week, that is ending Sunday, to sell our struggle and our nation. We must reiterate that we are everywhere where Ambazonia is being discussed, and must advise them no one will sell Ambazonia this time around. This generation, the never again generation, has the historic duty to free homeland, and we promise you we will. To all enablers, beware. It's a journey for freedom. There is no shortcut, and there will be no negotiation on that. So there will be no negotiations on any other terms than the terms of separation. And there can be no negotiations so long as the conditions we laid down in 2017 have not been met. The conditions stayed same in 2018, and the conditions stay same in 2019. Number one, all our leaders, especially the leader of this revolution, His Excellency Siko Ayok Tabe, Patasang, our great leader, Comrade Mancho BBC, the father of the Covenant Revolution, Senator Penn Terence, and all our other leaders, they must be part of the negotiation process. And because prisoners cannot negotiate, there cannot be any negotiation without goodwill from terrorist Cameroon. Our leaders must be set free. Every single Ambazonian kidnapped by the terrorist government in Yaoundé, because of their conviction for free homeland, because of their conviction for dignity, for peace, and for a home, a country they can call their own. Until every one of them is freed, we will not trust colonial Cameroons intend to get into negotiation. We must assure colonial Cameroon that when we got into the business of liberating our people, we had no doubt that it was the right hour. We had no doubt that the historic mandate was handed over to us. We had no doubt that this mantle cannot be handed down to the next generation. We are fully persuaded that it is not by accident that the foundation laid down by the SCNC, by the Republic of Ambazonia, by the AGC, by the SCYL, and all movements that preceded 2016, including SCAPO, CAM, and you name the rest, that all of these foundation stones were laid for a moment like this. We want to tell Ambazonians that we have moved mountains. And as we moved ahead, every single bridge along our way has been broken down. We have burnt it down. There is no option for failing. Failing is not an option. We want to re-emphasize, like His Excellency Sisiko Ayok articulated right through 2018, that going to Boya is not a question of if, but a question of when. And how soon? The decision is yours and it's mine. The key is in unity. You know what role to play, and know what role to play. When a house is united, there is no force in the world that can stand against it. So your interim government sends a message of peace. We send a message of love. And we want to reiterate that we are willing to work with all Ambazonians, all, and we mean all. We want us to work together as one solid, unshakable team until we get to Boya. And this is the most critical time because the international community has heard us. The international community clearly understands that we are not secessionists. We are restorationists. We have repeated this emphasis, but tonight I want to re-echo this because it's important that for those who joined our struggle late, they must understand why Southern Cameroonians can never ever qualify as secessionists. When do you qualify to be called a secessionist? When you as a people were part of a country on the day it achieved its independence. And because of the treatment you get from that country, you then say, it is enough, I cannot stay with these people, I want to break away. My good people, La République du Cameroon had the independence on the 1st of January, 1960. On that day, the Southern Cameroons had nothing, the British Southern Cameroons, to do with French Cameroon that just had its independence. We were a separate country. We remained a separate country for almost 2 years after their independence. Only very uncivilized, uneducated, twatted minds will call the strive for our freedom secession. We were not part of La République, so we cannot secede. Hence, we are not secessionists. Who are we? We're restorationists. Because when the United Nations conspired with France and Britain and had to force these two countries, French Cameroon and the British Southern Cameroons, to come together and form a federal confederation or confederation of two states, equal in status. The mandate was the two of you would go and decide on how you would build this big mass made of two countries. The rest is history, as you all know. And because our nation was stolen, because they've subjugated us for so long, because they've done everything to assimilate us from the 30th of September 1961 till this date. And now they do understand very clearly that they cannot and they will never force us to become part of them. The wise thing for us to do is to stand together so that we make this journey shorter. This is an official message from His Excellency Sisiko Ayoktabe, from Vice President Yeriman and the entire cabinet. We send an olive branch. We send a hand of brotherhood and comradeship to every single movement. Let us pull out of social media. Let us frustrate La République agents who have been released onto social media to ensure they keep us divided. Let us stop all the attacks against leaders. Let us deal with the facts and build our institutions. Let the institutions do the work for us and come and inspire our people so that together we can free homeland. So that's the first thing, comrades, that I thought was extremely important for tonight for us to address. The second thing is the Southern Cameroon's European Women's SCEW Conference coming up in Germany this week on the 13th. What is our official policy position as the interim government? Our official policy position as the interim government is that all Ambazonians who are restorationists, who believe in a free homeland, who want us to get to Boya as soon as possible, they have a right to hold conferences. They have a right to analyze the challenges facing our interim government, and they have a right to suggest collaborative solutions that will help bring us closer, help us raise funds so that we can make this liberation struggle short. We want to say this unequivocally. We wish our powerful Amber ladies, our mothers, our sisters, who will be meeting in Germany, the very best. We ask all Ambazonians in Europe to be there. We want to thank all Ambazonians in Africa, in America, in Australia, in the Middle East, who've secured our visas and will be at this historic event. We have spoken to the SCEW ladies, and the objective of this conference is very noble. Nobody feels the pain of a people at war more than the mothers. Nobody feels the pain of a child brutally slain by terrorist forces like a mother. So over the last 3 years, the brunt of La République du Cameroon's brutality has given our mothers and sisters sleepless nights. And they have said, enough. The pain our boys suffer on the ground with den guns have been giving them sleepless nights, and they have said, enough. The pain our IDPs and refugees suffer with so many calling, and their big cry is, we have not ate for 2 days. We haven't drank water for 3 days. We have been sleeping on the trees. And the list is endless, including children not going to school. Our mothers have said, we cannot fold our hands while the carnage continues. So this conference happening in Germany is a historic conference. I encourage every single Ambazonian who is a patriot to be there. During the liberation struggle in South Africa, there was a time when the men had pushed and it looked like things were not moving. Women rose up, mobilized themselves, and organized a famous march. It is called the March to the Union Buildings. The Union Buildings was the apartheid presidency. That march changed the face of the South African struggle. I want to believe that the SCEW meeting happening in Europe this week is going to change the face of the Ambazonian struggle. Please be there. Encourage our mothers. Encourage our sisters. If you have ideas and you cannot be there, please send them ideas. They want to raise money to support all these constituencies, to support the Nero 10, support all our leaders and people head across La République's detention centers. One thing you can do, even if you're not there, is please send your support. I will ask the SCEW ladies to share with the SCBC team the different account details so that Ambazonians across the world who cannot make it to Germany make a contribution, money, because we need money to liberate our people. And of course, share ideas. We need those strategies. We need to have a resolute roadmap which will make this journey shorter. I want to wish you the best on behalf of the interim government, and that is the official position of the cabinet. Comrades, the third thing I want to address tonight is the unfortunate kidnappings and ransom takings that are happening in our homeland. This is one of the biggest enemies of our revolution and our people. Your IG declares war against all kidnappers. We want to make it absolutely clear that kidnapping is a sin against our people. Kidnapping is a crime against our people. Kidnapping is an enemy that all Ambazonians must put their arms and forces together and make sure it is eradicated. Just like we're doing everything to eradicate La République's colonization and occupation of our land. My fellow people, kidnapping is a sin against our freedom. Let us together declare war against all kidnappings and ransom taking. As your interim government, we want to make it absolutely clear again to everyone that kidnapping is part of La République's war strategy to do and achieve a number of objectives. One, to terrorize our people and make them live under fear. Two, to extort or forcefully take money from our people, because La Republic soldiers are poorly paid. We all know that, and barely have enough to eat. They are not even given food when they go to the war zone. That's why in the northern zone, they killed and ate several pets, including dogs and cats, owned by people, after killing goats and cows. Why is La Republic using kidnapping as a war strategy? Point number 3, to give Amber Boys a bad name, so as to stimulate counter-insurgency and kill civilians as revenge. That is sickening in itself and sickening to the core. Next, to paint a bad picture of Amber Boys, comprised mostly of graduates like General Aruke and former university students who have been forced to pick up arms because of Bia's forces' extermination campaigns against our people. Following our intelligence reports, ladies and gentlemen, we want to, 1, accuse the Tanganji for hiring and paying militias to carry out kidnappings and pretending that it's Amber Boys. We all know of examples of forced imprisonment of civilians by colonial La Republic du Cameroon regime forces, who then ask for bribes before releasing them. Our situations where they meet civilians and ask for between 30,000 to 500,000 on the spot are numerous. And I want to share this very unique example. We have a Bamileke boy based in Britain, born and bred in Abakwa, Bamenda. This Bamileke boy goes to the house in Bamenda while on holiday, and while he is driving out of Ambazonia into La Republic du Cameroon, he stopped at a checkpoint somewhere up station Bamenda. And this uncivilized, uneducated gendarme tells him to come out of the car and asks him to present his identity card. He does, and equally presents his passport. The gendarme barely looks at it, turns and tells the young man, "Give me 30,000 francs. The young man asked, "What for?" And he said, "You, Ambazonian, you think you are smart?" So he actually thought the guy was an Ambazonian. "Let me tell you this. I am giving you 5 minutes. You have to pay a penalty for asking me for what? I need 50,000 francs within the next 5 minutes. If I do not get 50,000 francs, I, the terrorist gendarme, I'm going to do one of two things. I will either call you an Amber Boy, shout for everybody to hear, and I shoot you, you'll be dead right now, or I'm simply going to shoot your leg and say you pulled out a gun to shoot me, arrest you, you will be taken to Kondenge, and if you're not lucky, you die in Kondenge." My fellow people, that is what our people are going through. The families in Ambazonia that have paid 500,000 francs bribe to liberate people who have no crime, simply because La Republic terrorists have now used this as a business scheme. There are families in Ambazonia that have paid 1 million. I know of a family that has paid 8 million. My fellow people, money borrowed. The question is, if criminals sent to terrorize the people are allowed to continue to pretend that they're Amber Boys and commit these kind of crimes on our people, the plan is to get our people turned against us. So there is something that we must do. We have lots of proof that this is La Republic. Think for yourself. How do you explain that students are kidnapped in Bali, despite the fact that the whole area around the airport where the college is heavily militarized. The same thing happening in Bambali and across Ambazonia. So the interim government calls on all our people to stay vigilant and not to be tempted to get involved in such acts. Anyone who does so isn't representing us and is by their own or with the regime's killer squad because they have taken blood money. And nobody who takes blood money in this revolution will survive. The gods of Ambazonia will rise up against you. The God who has ordained this struggle and called it the right time will rise against you. That is the official position of our interim government. Root out all kidnappers and ransom takers from our communities by setting up sting operations and strengthening our civilian intelligence gathering capabilities. Kidnapping is outlawed. Kidnapping is one war we must be victorious against. Fellow Ambazonians, war against kidnapping. Let us make sure we bring it to zero. The people of Ndop have done it. There are certain concentrations in Ambazonia areas where these La Republic terrorists, so-called Amber Boys, are causing havoc on our people. We must bring them to a stop. Fellow comrades, fellow Ambazonians, fellow citizens. The next thing I'd like to address is a visit that took place in the Cameroons this week. The visit of U.S. Congressional Caucus leader Karen Bass and her members. On behalf of the people of Ambazonia, we would like to thank the acting leader of our revolution, Comrade Daphne Yerema, for having, at very short notice, engaged key stakeholders to put out that very solid position that our boys stay in the barracks for 48 hours. We called a unilateral ceasefire for only 48 hours. I want to insist so that this is not taken out of context. That ceasefire was only called over the duration of the period while Congress leader Karen Bass was in the Cameroons. When we heard she was in Yaoundé, our lobbyists did everything to make sure that she goes to the principal prison in Kondenge and sees firsthand the terror La Republic jails is. Goes to Ambazonia and sees the terror La Republic has unleashed on our people. We did everything as a government in our powers to ensure that this happened. But of course, as you would know, La Republic has done everything in its powers to hide war crimes in Ambazonia by ensuring that visiting delegations from the German Parliament, from the European Parliament, from Amnesty International, from the United Nations Human Rights Commission do not get down to Ambazonia. So of course they took time to try and manufacture as much tales as they could, including the very terrible scenes that they have created in Ambazonia and pinned that on our people. But we want to tell Ambazonians to rest assured that your government is in touch with the international community. Your international community has a good profile of La Republic's war of genocide on our people. And whatever they told Karen Bass, it ended there in Yaoundé and will not influence the policy position of our international friends who have now come to understand that La Republic is a colonizer, La Republic is an occupier, and the occupation must be terminated. Again, the responsibility is on us to work together. The responsibility on us to unite. The responsibility is on us to defend facts and not lies. If there's one thing that some in this struggle have chosen to do, they have refused truth, They have refused facts, and they have chosen to hang on lies. Woe betide. The truth about it is, facts never lie, facts never die. Someday, we will all know the truth. Fellow comrades, on the arrest of SDF National Chairman Ni John Fru Ndi, we have heard several apologies from different segments of our society. There are a number of things we would like to be very clear on. It is important first to state that AGOVC came out publicly and announced that it took responsibility of the arrest, not kidnapping, of the arrest, not kidnapping of SDF National Chairman. Strictly not kidnapping because there was no ransom. I personally called the SDF National Chairman, and many Ambazonians already know that long before our struggle started in 2016, I was the chairperson of the SDF in South Africa for 10 years. So I have always had a very close relationship with Ni John Fru Ndi, and is one of those that when the struggle started in 2016, we had a lot of exchanges. I remember in December 2016 asking Ni John Fru Ndi, I said, Chairman, we had made it very clear that when we declare that the Ambazonians must stand on one side, it means irrespective of which political inclination they stand with, they must fall behind the Ambazonian line so that we can fight a war of independence. We had called by December 2017 that all parliamentarians and senators must leave parliament. That is because when our president declared the independence of the Southern Cameroons on the 1st of October 2017, we had made it very clear to the world that we had no relationship again with La République du Cameroon. That the illegal Jumba Maret had broken beyond repairs, and that we had packed our bags and we had crossed through River Nile and we were heading towards the promised land. We gave a date on which SDF parliamentarians must leave the colonial French Cameroon parliament. When that date passed, I remember calling Pa Ni John Fru Ndi and asking, I said, Pa, why are your parliamentarians still in Yaoundé? I remember Pa saying, the parliamentarians are elected by the people, and when the their people in a different constituency say they must come back, they have to listen to their people, that he wasn't the person who elected them, but the people. Now, it's abundantly clear that the people have been talking now for so long. Let us get this clear. Almost every parliamentarian who still goes to the terrorist parliament doesn't live in Ambazonia. They have now taken refuge as refugees, and they are living in the diaspora of Yaoundé in La République du Cameroon. And the question we ask them again is, who are you representing? Whose voice are you representing? Let us have this clear. It is very unfortunate that the chairman of the SDF was arrested, and from all indications, dragged, and he had some bruises. Again, as the interim government, our number one responsibility is to protect all our people. And most importantly, the elders in a community like Ni John Fru Ndi. We regret that it came to that. We have spoken with our sister movement, SCEW, and the understanding and instruction that was given to the restoration forces was to pick up the chairman and have a talk with the chairman on key issues. We want to say this and say it unequivocally. We are happy that the chairman, Ni John Fru Ndi, who's done so much to bring freedom to Cameroon, who has sacrificed so much to bring freedom to Cameroon, who put his life on the line in the 90s, has a history book when it comes to democratizing Cameroon. That history can never be wiped away. We're equally very happy that in the course of our war of independence, like some leaders, he has not gone abroad to stay in America and Britain and so on. He hasn't taken exile in French Cameroon. He has chosen to stay with his people. He has chosen to stay with Ambazonians in Bamenda. And as a result of that, the pain our people suffer, he knows it because he is a father to many who are die-hard revolutionaries and freedom fighters in this struggle. We of course would want him to continue to stay in Amazonia. We of course would want him to tell every single parliamentarian who's gone on exile to do the right thing. The interim government is reopening discussions with the SDF and saluting that AGOVC has put this back on the agenda, that the SDF, as a matter of a must, recalls all its parliamentarians and senators from colonial Cameroon structures. There is a clarification we would like to make to our people, because as the interim government, we've always believed in responsible leadership. Ni John, we are not saying the parliamentarians should resign. That's not what we're saying. We are saying they should withdraw. Yes. Let me repeat that again. We are not saying the parliamentarians should resign. We are saying they should withdraw, like Honorable Weber did. When they withdraw, they will remain parliamentarians of the people because they were elected by the people. When they withdraw from Yaoundé, they must come back to their communities. They must come back to their constituencies. They must come and stay with the people that elected them. And we guarantee you, you will be protected. When you are elected by the people and you withdraw from colonial Cameroon's parliament and you come with your people, you will go to Boya and you will chair the first session of the Ambazonian parliament. That is exactly what our forebears did in 1954. When they pulled out of Enugu, they went to Boya as parliamentarians, and boom, we had the Southern Cameroon assassination. There has been a precedent. Every single day passing, when you pretend you are in La Republique's cabinet to fight, fight for who? Fight what? It has been proven that you are toothless bulldogs. You have never even been given an opportunity to even mention the word Anglo. Please have it on record. Southern Cameroonians are not Anglophones. We were Anglophones up until the 1st of October 2017. Because at that time, we still had a skeleton called the Cameroons. We left and we left for good. There is no such thing in Ambazonia called Anglophones. We are Ambazonians. So the discussion Ni John Fru Ndi had with AGOVC, which he shared with several media personnel, and of course, I called him personally, and we had discussions on them, is that he has been given a deadline to get all SDF senators, all SDF parliamentarians to leave Yaoundé and come back home. That is the message. The same message goes to all those who go around calling themselves CPDM parliamentarians. This is a struggle to liberate our people. And until we get to Buea, we are not going to allow politics. This is the time for freedom. This is the time for a revolution. Revolutionaries are not politicians. Revolutionaries are not politicians. When we get to Buea, we will get political parties to register. When political parties register themselves, only then will politics be allowed in Ambazonia. For now, we ask those of you who still wrongfully believe that there will ever be federation, we ask you to delete that. Delete that. Federation is not an option. So, as the parliamentarians, make sure that you protect the national chairman, because, of course, as one of our fathers, we do not want anything wrong to happen with him. To all of you parliamentarians, you are our leader so long as you are in Ambazonia, and we want you to be safe. Your marriage will evil La République. Honorable Weber calls it La République du Vampires has come to an end. It has come to an end. As I've said, the interim government will be reaching out to you alongside nationalist movements, and we will give you a deadline. And that deadline would not be crossed. I hope this message is very clear to all. So to the chairman, I want to add my voice on behalf of the interim government, on behalf of all our nationalist movements, that we are sorry for what happened, but we make a strong appeal that you know the right thing to do. Call the parliamentarians back home. Call the senators back home. This is the Ambazonian fight. Let us all together free our country. Thank you. Fellow comrades, I would never want to leave this platform without reminding us that we are at war, and that when we started the revolution in 2016, lawyers, teachers, and then you and myself, we never for once thought that La République was going to declare war on us. Remember that we were never captured at war. We were forced to unite with them in some fake thing they called unification, whatever that means. You know, in true international legal terms, that makes no sense. But because this war has been declared on us, because our people are being killed daily, because our communities are being erased, and because God has given us strong, visionary restoration forces who have one mandate and one mandate only: to free our people. You and I in the diaspora have the historic responsibility to fund them. You have the historic responsibility to fund them. We ask you to make sure in your different communities that you get into a free Ambazonian jungle. We ask you to listen very attentively in the days ahead, because the interim government will be unleashing a very powerful collaborative fundraising strategy that will help to raise money and ensure that everyone plays a role to liberate the people. And to all Ambazonians who subscribe to different movements, we encourage you to donate until you bleed. You see, the focus here is on donate. As the interim government, we're not in the business of trying to discourage people from joining A or B. We're in the business of asking every Ambazonian to find a home that you align to its ideology, Identify with that home and help it to grow. Because when an effort comes from every one of us, the net effect is that Ambazonian will be free soonest. Let us donate and donate and donate until we bleed. Make sure no week passes you by. Make sure no month passes you by. Make sure you become an advocate for resource mobilization. When you meet an Ambazonian, you ask them, have you donated? If they have not, take the donation and put in the bank account. But I want to emphasize on this again, accountability. My fellow people, when leaders fail to account, it means the people have given away their responsibility. Leaders do not hold themselves to account. It is the people that hold leaders to account. The interim government under Comrade Daphne Yerima has made a commitment that we will account for every amber that gets into our account. We ask those of you at the local government areas to hold every government local leadership to account. Counties, hold your county leaderships to account. Countries, hold your country leaders to account. Regions, hold your regional leaders to account. SERS, jungle groups, and whatever. Let the new language be accountability. You know that Secretary of State, Comrade Brado, came out with his closing arguments. Do take note that was not an audit. On the contrary, Comrade Brado wanted us to get a clear understanding of what has been going wrong within your interim government, so that you ask the right questions, so that you do not allow people to manipulate you, because so many of you have been manipulated. My people, go for the truth, go for facts, and they will set you free. When I came here 2 weeks ago, I passed an order on behalf of the cabinet that the interim government under Vice President Daphne Yerima is consulting with the different arms of our government to make sure that we have an independent audit of the activities of our government from November 2017 to October 2018. That's the period over which our audit, I'm told, is supposed to take place. So we, of course, know that some Ambazonians have been deceived to get into some activities called an audit. Well, we ask Ambazonians to ignore whatever audit comes from whatever grouping that came together for whatever they were doing in the name of an audit. There has been no audit taking place ever since the ex-acting president, Comrade Samuel Sarko's government was dissolved. Anybody involved in that audit should take note that your integrity could be on the line. When the audit team is finally put together, Comrade Brado has made it public that he is willing to testify so long as that audit team is independent, credible, and not biased. When that audit team is put together, we will make sure that it is vetted by all the organs of the interim government, so that the audit represents facts and not manufactured stories. We call on Ambazonians to ignore anything released by any group of people in the name of an audit. Our revolution is a serious one. Too many lives have been lost, and we cannot give chance for politicians to go around rallying and buying people to manufacture lies and trying to brainwash our people and deceive them. Ambazonians, please do stay focused. We must hold all leaders to account, but that must follow a credible, unquestionable process. And Comrade Daphne Yerima has given his promise, and he's working behind the scenes to ensure that we get this as soon as possible. Let us hold leaders to account. Let us stand for ground zero. Let us support refugees in Nigeria, Ghana, and other countries. Let us support our brothers. Let us support our leaders. Let us support our sisters in all detention facilities across Ambazonia and in La Republic of Cameroon. And join me celebrate our leaders in detention. They are doing marvelous work. This week, you heard of the leader of our revolution realizing that they were Ambazonians abandoned in the Bafoussam jails. Your president, Sisiko Ayok Tabe, had to get lawyers to go and defend them. He's not only done that, he has mobilized for food and sent to many jails. He and his team in jail have sent medication, and prevented terrible things from happening to a lot of Ambazonians locked up by La Republic of Cameroon, whose only crime on earth was that they are Ambazonians. Not even that. They were seen on the street. Their only crime is that they're Ambazonians. So fellow people, this is one war we cannot lose. For the sake of baby Mata, for the sake of Sam Soya, for the sake of Mami Apia, for the sake of all Ambazonians who have been slaughtered because of Bia's senseless war, let us unite. Let us unite. Let us stand together. Let us fight together. Let us march together. And let us work together so that we can make Ambazonia a free nation soonest. It is independence or resistance forever. God bless you. Short live the struggle. Long live Amazonia.
Ambazonians pledge our loyalty. Praises to our Savior who granted us the freedom, and led us to the hero who bowed the lonely Diablo. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in our nation, flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father, for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
We're back, bigger and better. SCBC TV now covers Africa and Europe on a free-to-air satellite with the following coordinates on IS-20 KU band. If you were blocked before or not able to receive our signal, this is good news for you. Contact any local satellite dish installer near you for technical assistance and you will be pleased to be connected anywhere you are. SCBC TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Be informed, be educated, be entertained, be revolutionized, and always be the first to know. SCBC TV, always putting Ambazonia first.
A part of this